That in stepping down is probably best for him to leave the country, to allow a different government to emerge. That does, any departure from Libya does not exempt Mr. Gaddafi, his family, or others from responsibility and accountability for what has occurred.
And the chief spokesman wasn't finished there. He came back in answer to the question from another journalist and used a different set of imaginative words to make the same point. Here's what he said.
Are you aware of any discussions, offers from one side or the other about facilitating Gaddafi's exit from the country?
Look, we want to see Gaddafi leave. We're not his travel booker.
So, John, a bit of a kind of pushback there, as you say, from PJ Crowley. But did they give any kind of more details about what other measures are being prepared in the meantime?
Well, just to follow up on what PJ Crowley said there, he went on to say, by the way, that there's no reason that Gaddafi can't leave his tent, get on a plane and give the Libyan people a better future. No reason for that not to happen at all, he said. Look, PJ Crowley, as all the administration spokespeople have been doing over the past couple of days, is pushing the same line. And that is that all options are on the table. Now, we know there's a major meeting of NATO defense ministers and secretaries in Brussels on Thursday, so we're all looking to that to decide whether there may be any discussion at all of a so-called no-fly zone, let alone a decision about whether one might actually be implemented. And there are lots of other options on the table being discussed with the international community right now. And what is going on here in Washington is that Washington knows that it has to be very careful when dealing with any Arab country, any kind of air assault or land-based assault. As PJ Crowley put it to me this afternoon, when America interacts with an Arab nation, the world sits up and pays attention. So they're being very careful and making sure that the international community is truly on board with whatever is eventually decided about what should happen vis-a-vis Libya and Colonel Gaddafi and his regime.
OK, John, thanks very much indeed. John Terrett live there in Washington. Clashes have broken out between Muslims and Coptic Christians in the Egyptian capital. The country's Coptic minority has been protesting against discrimination by Egypt's Muslim majority. And in Cairo's Tahrir Square, hundreds of Egyptian women held a rally calling for equal rights and an end to sexual harassment. And staying in Egypt, an Egyptian criminal court has upheld a travel ban imposed on the ousted President Hosni Mubarak. The decision prevents the former leader and his family from leaving the country. Their financial assets and property in Egypt have also been frozen. Meanwhile, the Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir is also in Egypt, meeting the country's new leaders. It's the first visit by an Arab leader to Egypt since former President Hosni Mubarak quit in February. In South Sudan, 51 soldiers have been killed in fighting between the South Sudanese army and forces loyal to a rebel leader. South Sudan voted in January to secede from the north, but violence has flared in multiple locations across the south in the last 2 weeks. It underscores the challenges the region faces before it can declare independence on July the 9th. It's International Women's Day, a celebration of the economic, political and social achievements of women. Well, Kenya's Maasai women are some of the most marginalised in the country, with extremely limited access to education. Catherine Sawyer reports from Kajiado, where one women's group is striving to change this.
In the dry and desolate landscape of Kenya's south, under the scorching sun, Maasai women, their children and grandchildren learn the alphabet. The women meet here once every month to learn how to read, write and count. Literacy levels among the Maasai community are still very low. For many, that means circumcision, early marriages, and the denial of basic rights, even the right to inherit property.
Women from this part of the country have been marginalized for so long, but these ones here are determined to change the odds, and they believe that education, no matter how basic, is a key to their empowerment.
Jane Lanoi escaped circumcision at a young age. She returned in 2004 to help women stand up for their rights. It was not easy.
I'm a woman, and I'm supposed to be in the community to be very silent, to be seen, but not to be heard. So when I came in and I said that I had something that I would want to share with the community, the first community meeting, nobody showed up, including the women.
After a lot of persuasion, Emily Mukolo was one of the first women to listen to Jane. Now she's earning a modest allowance, making beaded ornaments for sale. But she still has to delicately juggle her home life and her beadwork so as not to upset her husband.
Our men don't give us the freedom to work. Even now, we have household chores from dawn to dusk and have to carry our beads everywhere in case we get a little time in between the chores.
This has, however, not deterred the women here, all 130 of them, all with a passion to change a culture that has for so many years relegated them to the sidelines. Catherine Soy, Al Jazeera, Kajiado, Southern Kenya.
Well, on the other side of Africa, the conflict in Côte d'Ivoire is deepening. Protests on both sides of the political divide are turning deadly. Al Jazeera reports from Abidjan, straight ahead.
As the clouds roll in across the Mediterranean, you'll still find it easy to drift away.
Well, across the Indian subcontinent, we are looking at fairly dry conditions, but very warm conditions right now. We're looking at temperatures anywhere from the mid to high 30s. Take a look at what we expect to see on Wednesday. Hyderabad at 38 degrees, Kolkata at 35. New Delhi, that's when you have to get into the 20s, but they're going to be seeing about 20 degrees themselves. Otherwise, we're looking at really no precipitation in the forecast, so very dry for them. But down to the south, I want to take you down, especially to the Mozambique Channel. We're watching this area of circulation very, very carefully over the next couple of days. Nothing has been put out by the Joint Typhoon Warning Center about this possibly turning into a cyclone, but I've been looking at the forecast models, and this could be a potential problem for not only Mozambique, but also for Madagascar, so we'll keep you informed on that. Just to the south, Durban at 29 degrees. Most of the rain showers will stay really just to the west of there. Cape Town is dry at 25, and Johannesburg, a warm day for you at 31. Well, up towards the Arabian Peninsula, we're also looking at dry conditions over the next couple of days. What we are seeing, though, are temperatures beginning to rise there. Doha at 29 degrees, Abu Dhabi at 30, and over towards the east, Muscat is seeing about 28 degrees for them. And a little bit further to the north, we're seeing some rainy conditions along that Iran-Iraq border. Baghdad, very windy conditions at 25 degrees, and Kuwait City, windy themselves at 27.
Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline.
Afghanistan is faced with a huge challenge.
Relations have gone really sour between us and our allies.
We have inflicted considerable damage on the enemy.
The people who make international headlines.
Ultimately, the truth will out.
They want to stop this publication of information that embarrasses them.
Make time for Sir David Frost. Frost over the world. At this time on Al Jazeera.
Welcome back. Reminder